Find the truth value for the compound statement. Suppose P is true, Q is false, and R is true. Okay, when it says find the truth value, I don't have to make a truth table like I did in the second video. Truth value just means I have to plug and chug the values in. So I'm going to write everything out. P is true, Q is false, and R is true. So now we have three values we're looking at, so we got to be careful. So let's do this first one. I'm going to call this number 1. P and negation R. So whenever I see P, I'm plugging in true, and negation R. R is also true. So now I have to do things in order. So I have negation. So negation of true is false. So now I have true and false. True and false is false because the only time and is true is when both P and Q, in this case P and R, would be true. Okay, so let's do number 2. I have negation, parentheses. I have Q, which is false, or R, which is true. Or we have P, which is true, and Q, which is false. Now I'm just going to check this really quick because there's a lot of letters. So Q is false, R is true, P is true, and Q is false. Okay, so negation, let's do inside the parentheses. So negation of false or true is true. Or true and false. True and false is false. Because remember, with and, the only time that's true is when both are true. Okay? So now I have negation true or false. I have to deal with a negation. So negation of true is false. False or false is false. And that is the only time when or is false, is when both of them are false. Okay, so that's the result. So let's look at the next one. Again, if I see a P, I'm going to plug in true. If I see a Q, I'm plugging in false. And if I see an R, I'm plugging in true. Okay, so I have to do negation first. The negation of false is true. So true and true and true. I have to do inside parentheses. True and true. This is the only time and is true. So now I have true and true again, which the result is true. All right, so number 3 resulted in true. So let's look at number 4. Negation P. P is true. Or negation R. R is true. So negation of true is false. Or negation of true is false. False or false is false. All right, so that's how you handle those. They're a little bit easier than the truth tables because you're just plugging in values. How many rows will we need to set up if we're creating a truth table for a compound statement that contains 3 simple statements? Well, we have 3 different letters, right? And we have 2 possibilities. The 2 possibilities are either true or false for each. So 2 possibilities, 3 letters, 2 to the third, 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. So when you have P, Q, and R, or 3 letters, you are going to have 8 rows. Okay? I'm going to label this. Okay, so how do we fill these out? Remember when we had 4 rows with just P and Q, we had true, true, false, false, and then true, false, true, false. For P, Q, and R, you're going to have 4 trues for P, 4 falses. Okay, so we alternate 4 trues, 4 falses. Then for Q, it's going to be 2 trues, 2 falses, 2 trues, 2 falses. So we're alternating 2s, 2 trues, 2 falses, etc. And then for R, it's alternating by 1. So it's true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. Okay? So again, P is 4 trues, 4 falses. Q is 2 trues, 2 falses, alternating. And then R is true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. Okay? So now if I create a truth table for what they're asking me to do, I have to do parentheses first. So I'm going to do them in order. So Q or R. I'm going to negate the Q or R. So I want to find out what the heck that is. And then I'm going to do P and Q. Again, they said to do parentheses, okay? And then the final column is going to be everything put together. So negation of Q or R, or P and Q. Okay, so let's do Q or R. So if I look at row 1, Q is true or R is true. So true or true is true. So if I look at row 2, I'm looking at Q and R. So true or false is true. If I look at row 3, I'm looking at Q and R. False or true is true. For row 4, Q and R is false or false, which is false, the only time when or is false. For row 5, true or true is true. For row 6, true or false is true. For row 7, false or true is true. And for row 8, false or false is false. Okay, now I'm just going to negate what I just found. So I'm taking all this and negating it. Okay, so row 1, the negation of true is going to give me false. For row 2, the negation of true is going to give me false. The negation of true for row 3 is going to give me false. For row 4, the negation of false is going to give me true. For row 5, the negation of true is going to give me false. For row 6, the negation of true is going to give me false. For row 7, the negation of true is going to give me false. And finally, for row 8, the negation of false is going to give me true. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next parentheses, which is P and Q. So I'm looking at the P and Q columns. So for row 1, it's true and true. The result of that is true. That's the only time and is true is when both are true. For row 2, we have true and true, which is going to give me true. For row 3, we have true and false, which is false. For row 4, it's true and false, which is false. For row 5, we have false and true, which is false. For row 6, we have false and true, which is false. And for row 7, we have false and false, which is false. And for row 8, for P and Q, it's false and false. That is false. Now we're going to put the information together. So I'm going to show you in pink what I'm grabbing. I'm grabbing negation of Q or R, so this. And I'm going to also grab P and Q, which is this. So I'm going to put negation of Q or R. So I'm going to write that down. It's false, 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 true, false, 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 true. I'm going to put the or symbol. And finally, I'm just going to write what I just found for P and Q. The result of that was true, true, false, 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 and false. Now I'm going to put the pieces together to get the result. Okay, false or true is true because the only time or is false is when both are false. So row 2, false or true is true. Row 3, false or false is false. Row 4, true or false is true. False or false is false. False or false is false. False or false is false. And true or false is true. So the result is true, true, false, true, false, 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 true. Okay, so what does that mean? That means when the simple statements in row 1, P is true, Q is true, and R is true, the result is going to be true. In row 2, when P is true, Q is true, and R is false, the result is true. In row 3, when P is true, Q is false, and R is true, the result is false. And in row 4, when P is true, Q is false, R is false, the result is true, and so on and so forth. Okay? All right, so that one's done. So now it's asking us to create a truth table for the compound statement M and N or negation S. Okay, so we have 3 letters. 3 letters means I have 8 rows. So I'm going to go ahead and write M. I'm going to do N. And I'm going to do S. Now I do have parentheses, so I do those first. So M and N. And now I have negation of S, so I have to deal with that. And then I have to put the pieces together. So the last column is going to be M and N or negation S. Okay, so again, I'm going to have 8 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, I'm just going to double check that I have 8 rows. Okay, and I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Not a lot, but a little bit. Okay, let me erase that again. Okay, all right. So, this doesn't look amazing, but like I said, if you have lined paper, I'm sure yours looks better. So if we have 8 rows, the first letter, which in this case is M, is going to have 4 trues and 4 falses. Okay, always. All right. For the next one, N, we're going to do 2 trues, 2 falses alternating. And finally, for S, which is the last one, it's going to be true, false alternating. Okay, and that'll list out all my possibilities. All right. So now I have to do M and N. So I'm looking at the M column and the N column. So true and true, the result is true. True and true, again, I'm looking at the M and N column, the result is true. For row 3, we have true and false, the result is false. For row 4, we have true and false, the result is false. For row 5, we have false and true, the result is false. For row 6, we have false and true, the result is false. And for row 7, we have false and false, the result is false. And for row 8, we have false and false, the result is false. So remember with and, the only time and is true is when both are true, otherwise it's false. Now I have negation S. So negation S, I'm looking at the S column. So I'm going to negate true, negate false, negate true, negate false, negate true, negate false, negate true, negate false. Okay, so this becomes false, true, false, true, false, true, false, true. Okay, now putting the pieces together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy down what I found for M and N, and I'm also going to copy down what I have found for negation S, and I'm going to put an or in between. Okay, so for M and N, I have true, true, false, 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 or. Okay, and for negation of S, I got false, true, false, true, false, true, false, true. Okay, put the pieces together. What do we get as a result? True or false is true. True or true is true. False or false is false. False or true is true. False or false is false. I must put true there. I'm just going to erase that and redraw that out. Okay, let's do that again. This is false. False or true is false. I lied to you, it's true. Sorry, the only time or is false is when both are false. False or false is false. And false or true is true. So I'm just going to double check these really quick. And it looks good. Okay, so there you go. That's how you construct a truth table with 3 letters. Okay, I'm going to stop the video, and we're actually done with this section, so thanks for watching.